Well, hi everyone. I am just thrilled to be introducing Anita Moorjani, author of Dying to Be Me. I should introduce myself. My name is Frank Gjata, and thank you so much, Anita, for being willing to do this interview.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Frank. It's
Thank
it,
you.
it's always fun to talk to you.
I know. Well, I guess that leads me to my first question of how natural things come about. First of all, let me show everyone Anita's book. And it's funny. It's like, okay, I'm interviewing you for your book, Dying to Be Me, which is amazing, but it's not really just a book. I mean, your message is so much more than an interesting book, and so it's really life changing. And what we'll cover here, hopefully, are some of the concepts that really came through to you. And I guess why don't you go ahead? Let's start with just explaining briefly what your experience was. There's so many beautiful interviews that you really get into the detail of all the ins and outs of your experience. But let's give someone who perhaps hasn't heard your story an opportunity to hear it, and then we'll go into the fun stuff.
Okay, cool. Well, um, in I actually shouldn't be here. If the doctors were right, I should be dead. I should have died on February the 2nd, 2006. That should actually have been my last day because I was in a coma. I had end stage cancer at that point. My organs had shut down. And I had cancer for 4 years, and those were supposedly my final hours. I had open skin lesions, fluid in my lungs. My muscles had completely deteriorated. So I hadn't been able to walk for some time. I'd been in a wheelchair. I'd been hooked up to an oxygen machine. And on that day, February the 2nd, I went into a coma, and the doctors basically told my family that these were my final hours and my organs had now shut down.
Wow.
And
And here you are today, so beautiful and so with so much vitality. And the one thing that really struck me, and this was, I guess, where I was leading the interview, was how things happen synchronistically. And I think I saw a video of yours, and I hadn't read your book. And one thing that I felt, it was really a feeling more than a thinking, was how you really embody. It's so beautiful. You really embody grace like no one I've ever met, and and you embody all the concepts that I've been, learning and experimenting and exploring all my life. And you've had the direct experience.
wow, thank you. I mean that's a really nice thing to say, and it's funny because I'm just kind of living my life, and there are a lot of times where I kind of feel that um like, I should know better because of what I've been through. And I go through moments of criticizing myself, and then I remind myself, oh, I've been dead and back, so this is nothing. It's okay.
Well, I love that. I guess that's, it's a process, even going through your experience that you've had, that there are times when you may lose yourself, so to speak, or get disconnected. So that's a great question is how do you notice when you get disconnected from who you really are?
I think the moment I start to feel um, like a little bit of, I guess I can only describe it as fear, but it's not really fear. It's the moment I start to feel that the choices I'm making in that moment are not I'm not making them from a place of love for myself or a place of joy. But as soon as it feels like, oh, I better do this, otherwise I'm afraid of the consequences. So the minute I'm kind of thinking, okay, I'm doing this because I'm afraid of the consequences, that's when I realize that's kind of my trigger that, okay, this is not the way I want to go. And so then I kind of reevaluate, go back inward, and then I ask myself, what would I want to do if I didn't worry about the consequences at all? Basically, in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that prior to my near death experience, I used to live from a place where I made all my choices from a fear of the consequences. It's like I choose to eat this because I was afraid of getting sick. I choose to do this because I was afraid people wouldn't like me. You know, I was a people pleaser. After the near death experience, I make my choices because it's what I want to do, love to do, because I love myself, not because I fear the consequences. So every now and then, I kind of feel when I'm not feeling very good about myself, I realize that it's because I've started to make choices out of a fear of the consequences. And so I kind of look at it and I think, look at me. I'm kind of doing this and now I'm contorting myself out of shape. And I can see it now because I've had that experience. I can see myself doing it. And I can see myself like, and I can look back at myself and I can see that, I really didn't want to do that or say that, but I did it because I was afraid of how they were going to react.
Beautiful. Well said. Thank you. Do you notice one of the things that I practice is kind of really tuning into my body as a way of knowing if I'm feeling connected or not. You know, so because haven't you found our natural state to really be an ecstatic one,
Yes, absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So um, that may be uh, I think that might be challenging for some people to understand. But wouldn't you say that when you are feeling connected and being who you really are, that you're in an ecstatic state?
I find that when I'm connected, I find I laugh really, really easily. And everything, life just seems light and fun. I would definitely say an ecstatic state. It's definitely light and fun, and there's this feeling of excitement and adventure. And I have to admit, more often than not, I am in that state, especially since that experience. And it's only occasionally I feel myself going into the other state and I'm thinking, and
Right. So I guess that's what I would love to get across. That's a message for us that we may have just lost connection of who we are. And
yes.
I found the solution to be simply reconnecting to ourselves as opposed to going outside and fixing a problem.
Exactly right. It's always about reconnecting back with yourself. And it always goes back to just being who you are. Because that's all you can be, is be yourself. Because the more you try to go out and fix the problem, what ends up happening is the opposite. You tend to lose yourself even more. Because you're going out and trying to contort yourself, trying to figure out how did I get into this, and you get into the whole self-criticism thing, and then it's this whole downward spiral and you get further and further away from who you are.
Yes. Now that may be challenging for some to, as a practice. You know, it's like we can understand that intellectually, but it's like, wait, I have real challenges. Someone may be with a severe illness or out of a job or some things that are really hard for them to get into themselves or to reach for joy. How would you share with someone who may be suffering in that way, maybe some thoughts or examples of what may help them in that situation?
Okay, what I like to tell people is regardless of what it is you're going through, like let's say, for example, it's a health challenge,
Yeah.
what I would suggest is that when you wake up in the morning, I actually want you to pretend that today the doctor has given you 100% clean bill of health. Like the doctor has just said to you, you are completely healed of whatever illness it is, whatever health challenge. The doctor has just said to you, you are completely healed. And I want you to get into that feeling. How does that feel? That excitement. And just feel that feeling. And what would you do in that moment when you know, oh my God, I've just got this clean bill of health? What would you do with that? And then go out and do it. Whatever it
Wow.
is, go out and do it. Because, you know, one of the things is that life is really a gift. It really is a gift. But we don't realize it and we don't treat life like a gift. It's
Mm,
only when you lose it, like I almost lost it, and I realized that life is a gift. I don't want people to die before they learn that life is a gift. You need to wake up every morning and pretend you've just been given this new gift of life. And regardless of whether you've lost your job, what does it feel like if somebody just told you that you've got this dream job? Get into that feeling and go out, and with that smile on your face, that bounce in your step, that smug feeling that, oh my God, I got this dream job.
mm,
And, and that's the thing. We're supposed to feel that way. And if we can't, we tend to expect the external world to deliver us the stuff to create that feeling, but it's the other way around. We have to
mm.
create the feeling and then the stuff comes to us.
Beautiful. And I think that can be a new experience for many because we've learned, you know, from the beginning of time that whether through our society or culture, our parents, our school system, that we have to struggle, and
Yes,
then we have to struggle to get to someplace. Then we can relax and feel good. Um, and really, what's true is the opposite, isn't it?
it
And
is.
one of the concepts, I have the website called Blississippi,
I love it.
and really, it's just based on what you're talking about. That living our bliss and living who we are. This is the big thing that I share: is that it must come first.
Yes.
As strange as that may seem, and then once we live that first, then everything falls from there.
Yes, exactly right. And it starts from loving yourself. I mean, a lot of people think, yeah, that's it. That's a really strange thing to do. But from the time we're really young, we're taught to love other people, and it's selfish to put yourself first, and you've always got to give and give. And we never learn the importance of giving ourselves and loving ourselves. And so what happens is most people, we don't even realize it, but we don't even respect ourselves. And then we complain that other people don't treat us with respect. In truth, other people only respect you as much as you respect yourself. Other people can only love you as much as you love yourself, because you don't allow it to happen if you don't love yourself, because you're always beating yourself up and treating yourself like a doormat. And the more we love ourselves, the more
Mm-hmm.
love we have to give other people. And the example, one example I always use is that from the time we're young, we're told that it's really positive to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. But
Right.
then we're told not to love ourselves. So, how do you love your neighbor as much as you love yourself?
It's really true, and that was one of the other thoughts. Like thinking of what's the most important thing that we can do is really loving ourselves. And I, I know that you speak in the book about that our world is really a reflection of our state of being,
Yes.
and so we understand that. It's pretty easily understood in terms of our bodies. Like how if we get stressed, cortisol is released in our system, our heart rate goes up, and all these things that are directly impacted because of our state of being. Yes,
Yes. Absolutely.
and what your experience was in the other realm, which is this same truth here. We just don't realize it because we have physical bodies, so we think there's separation. However, the entire world and universe is a reflection of who we are. Isn't that true?
Yeah, it really is. It really is, because we think that our views and our feelings are objective. We actually believe that we are responding to something objective, something that's happening out there. But what it actually is that whatever you're feeling inside, your focus, what you're feeling, your emotions, actually, they control your focus of what you focus on outside. So basically, your emotions determine what you focus on outside. And so that is the experience you'll have of the external world. So when your emotions are really, really, when you're really happy, that's what you will focus on outside. You'll kind of home in on all the happy things and you'll just create more happy. Now, that's not to say that if you're not feeling good, it's not to say suppress it. Because
Mm,
that's again another thing that people do. We kind of learn that, oh, you've got to like the law of attraction. If you're positive, you attract positivity. So when we're feeling lousy, what we do is we tend to suppress it, and we kind of say, okay, that's not good. I've got to push that down, and
right.
and so we kind of think that let me push down that negative feeling, and now let me force this positive feeling.
Mm.
That's not what I ask people to do, because the more you suppress your emotions, the more that they're actually going to push back. And as you suppress them, one day they'll just explode. They'll just be out of control. But even if you're feeling a little bit of emotion that you don't like, like negative emotion, or you're feeling sad, or you're feeling down, or you're feeling angry, the thing to do is don't judge it and just allow it to pass, because it will pass. We judge these emotions as negative, and so we deny them. And then when we deny them, we suppress them. And that's how they become a problem.
Beautiful, and I really love the distinction that you're making there, because there is a lot of talk. A lot of people think, well, I'm having a negative feeling, so I'm going to um, neglect it, or I'm going to avoid it, or I'm going to suppress it, as you say. What I found to be, again, it seems like a paradox. Everything's really a paradox. But what I found is the power of acknowledgement. I mean, that's the name of.
Yes.
I'm also a coach, and acknowledges power is really one of the most acknowledging ourselves in the moment
Yes.
is, even if we're acknowledging suffering or pain, the act we're doing is a loving act, because we're being willing to see and be present with ourselves.
Yeah.
That's important, isn't it? That so that's how I think how you can work with whatever your experience is. And once we acknowledge ourselves and allow the feelings, it moves through, doesn't it?
It really does. Because, and I'm not saying dwell in that feeling. I'm not even saying dwell in it or make a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
But what we have a tendency to do is, and the worst thing we can do is we judge it. So exactly as you say, all we need to do is acknowledge it, embrace it. This is what I'm feeling now. And it's okay to even reach for a better feeling, but because it will pass anyway. It's okay to distract yourself and do something better. But what we tend to do is either we deny it
Yeah.
or we judge it, and we think that, I'm a whatever, I'm a healer, I'm a coach, or I read all these self-help books, I go through to all these courses, so I should know better. And we
Right.
start beating ourselves up for having this feeling. And that's the worst thing you can do, is to really criticize yourself, judge yourself. Because no matter what, no matter how much you study or learn, you are going to have these feelings. It's just part of being
Right.
human.
Beautiful. And isn't it true? I love what you just said. It's part of being human. And if we understand that, then we can be light with it. It's like, oh, that happened again. Or and maybe having partners, and maybe that's an interesting point of having other people that can help. It's like, oh, I'm feeling down again. Oh,
Yeah.
really? What's happening? And so we can connect on something that has been a challenge, and then that makes it more fun. First of all,
Yeah.
it seems to lighten it up, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. And I've noticed that now the people who I am closest to, who I feel an affinity and a real bond with, are those who don't judge. We don't judge each other. And we have this openness where we can actually say that, hey, what that person said really made me feel lousy. It really hurt me. And we're okay saying it. There isn't any of this, oh man, you should rise above it. You of all people. We don't have any of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And in that, isn't it recreating the experience you had on the other realm? Because that was the words can't even come close to express unconditional love, the unconditional love that you felt.
Yes.
Uh, but so really, what you're talking about is that we have an opportunity to practice that in our day-to-day lives with ourselves and with others. Isn't
Yes.
that what you're talking about with your friend, that you're practicing unconditional love?
Yes, absolutely. Because what I experienced in the other realm was truly, truly unconditional love. And it was love like I had never known in this life before. And after that experience, it's sort of like it got imprinted on me. Okay, this is what unconditional love is.
Mm.
And then there's this feeling that, oh, I really need to share this with other people. And so when people can reciprocate that back, that's when this really close bond happens. And it's not like because here we are in the physical world. In the other realm, we had no bodies. It's a state of non-duality. So I know what you're feeling. You know what I'm feeling. There's no separation in the other realm. It's like our essences just merge. In this realm, we're again dealing with duality. We're dealing with separation. So there are people who will hurt you unintentionally, and it happens. And even if I understand that they're hurting me out of their own pain and nobody intends to hurt me, even if I understand that, in that moment, I will still feel hurt because I'm back in my physical body with my five senses and with my own emotions. I will still feel that hurt. I still need people around me who I can say that, oh man, that really hurt. And I need people around me who will not say that, oh, you should know better. You've been to the other side.
Right,
I need people who will still love me unconditionally and say, oh, all right, let's work through that. It's okay to
right,
feel that way.
right. Yeah, because that takes us away from ourselves, doesn't it? And so that's another act of dishonoring ourselves. And then so what will we'll attract, or what will be the reflection if we're going with life as a reflection of our state of being. So it's if we're dishonoring ourselves, won't we be inviting more dishonoring situations?
Yes, exactly. We will be. So the idea is that at every moment is to honor yourself. And to me, honor is also like being honest with yourself.
Right.
Yeah, so you don't need to kind of cover up and say, oh man, I've been to all these courses, or I should know better by now, so I better get my act together. Because what you end up doing is you end up judging that act, and you again suppress it. Really, I feel honoring yourself is being able to say things like, yeah, I still make mistakes. Yeah, I still get hurt. And yeah, I do goof up. Yeah, I do stumble. I do fall. But and the thing is really, it's just being able to say that, but it's okay. We all do.
Okay. I love that. And what you were talking about, being honest, and maybe getting back to someone who may be suffering from cancer or an illness, um, maybe a new way to approach that, because what you learned why you got the cancer. Maybe to
Yeah.
speak to that, and maybe someone else can see their illness from a different perspective where they can learn from it. Maybe can you speak to that?
Sure. I believe that I got my cancer because I didn't love myself enough. And I was always forsaking myself. I never respected myself. I would treat myself like a doormat, make myself small so others could feel big. I was a people pleaser. I would react to people, or my behavior towards people was like I would please people because I was afraid of their reaction. It wasn't because I loved them or I wanted to be with them, but it was more because I wanted them to like me. Everything I did was because I wanted other people to like me. What this does when you are a people pleaser and when you constantly are working hard to get people to like you, I was constantly working hard to be accepted. What this does is it sends your own self, your soul, your body, your essence, you're sending yourself the message all the time that you're not good enough, you're not deserving, you're not worthy. You have to work hard at being accepted. You have to work hard at fitting in. You have to work hard to get people to like you. And I could not stop that pattern. It's like I felt I constantly had to work at it. If I didn't do this, people won't like me. So everything I did was to get people to like me. And I spent a lifetime. It felt what felt like a lifetime doing that. I've spent the first half of my life doing that. And I know, it's not even I believe, I know that at least for me, that's why I got cancer.
Mm. So by is there something that you can uh, invite others? So if they're suffering from an illness, what they can kind of maybe some questions they might ask themselves so that they can learn from it as opposed to simply suffer from it.
Yeah, and some questions I would ask myself is that every choice, every decision that I'm making, am I making it from a place of love for myself, or am I making it from a place of fear of displeasing others? And every choice you make from here on, even if you find yourself making it from a place of fear and you're not ready to take that step, at least recognize and acknowledge that that's what you're doing.
Yes. I think you really, and I remember reading it in the book as well. Isn't it really as simple as that of a way to see if we're on track? Am I doing this out of fear
Yes.
or am I doing it? And I think you put it in the book. I think, am I doing it out of joy?
Yes. Am I doing it out of joy or am I doing it out of fear? And and I'll tell you some of the most common questions I get. One was somebody once said to me that it's good to have at least a little bit of fear because fear keeps you safe. And my answer to that would be it's not fear that keeps you safe. It's
Mm,
love that keeps you safe. When you love yourself, you will not put yourself in the path of danger.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really true. Like we think that it's the fear, but really it's the love.
Yeah, when you value your life, you will not put yourself in the path of danger. I mean, and the thing is that fear, in fact, if people make their choices out of fear, it may keep them safe, but it's going to make them very unhappy people over the years as the fear accumulates, as it did with me.
Nice. Yeah, great point. And it seemed like one of the steps that led to your healing, your a rapid healing was, I think you put it like you had a deep. It seemed like you had a deeper understanding of the truth of who you really were. So on the surface, you were suffering. You had cancer. You had huge tumors and lesions throughout your body. So there's one truth, yes.
Yes.
But so maybe you can speak to it so someone who may be suffering, it was what I understood is when you had a deeper understanding of who you really were,
Yes.
then your body no longer needed the cancer. You could be who you really were. So maybe can you speak to that?
Yes, of course. When I was in the other realm, I understood that I was this amazing, magnificent being, and that we all are, and we don't realize it. When we come into this physical life, everything we do, our systems, our education, and so on, erodes this feeling away. But in truth, we are absolutely amazing, magnificent beings. And because I had spent a lifetime not recognizing this, the cancer was actually my own power turned inward
Mm,
against me rather than expressed outward in being the person I should have been.
right. So then you understood that if you took that lesson and that understanding and that you came back into your body,
Yes.
and your body would no longer need to be giving you that message. You could just be who you are and that you would heal.
I absolutely knew that all I had to do was come back and be who I am, and I would heal because I would just express that energy. Every single person has that power to heal. Every single one of us, we're born with the ability to heal because, like, even if you cut yourself, you heal. You don't need to go to the doctor. Even if you have the flu, you don't really need to go and get antibiotics and so on. Your system would work its way through. You do heal. But when you're constantly beating up on yourself, you're kind of beating down on yourself, on your immune system, on your self-esteem, everything. It's all connected. Your emotions, it's all connected. And people had told me that, oh, you created the cancer and you attracted it. I hated hearing stuff like that. I really, really hated that. I had no idea how would I attract something like that, like this.
Right.
But when I was in the other realm, I understood it's not that I had intentionally attracted it, of course not. It's not even that my thoughts attracted it. It was my own feelings towards myself. I
Mm.
had I had forsaken myself, loathed myself, guilted myself to the point where I had turned my energy, my magnificence inward against me. We have so much power at our disposal. We have so much power to heal our bodies, to express ourselves, but we don't use it. We turn it against us.
Yes.
And we are in a system, in an education system, that, or even the way we're brought up, that kind of constantly is telling us that we're not good enough. But if only we knew how amazing we were, all we have to do is just shine our light as bright as we can, be as you can be, and you'll find that you will be able to just watch your purpose just unfold before you, and whatever is truly yours will actually come to you.
Beautiful. And it reminds me of that within every challenge and problem is really the solution. So the problem really isn't a problem. It's even more than an opportunity, I feel. But isn't it really grace? Because it's pointing to where we're missing the mark.
Yes, in fact, every challenge is a gift. Every single challenge is a gift because the cancer to me was a gift. It was an absolute gift. And, you know, at the time, I thought the cancer was killing me. People would tell, even today, people will say the cancer nearly killed you. And I say the cancer saved my life. I was killing myself. The cancer was the biggest gift I could have ever had. And it's taken me to where I am today. And I would not have been able to script my life better than what it is today. I just love my life with absolute passion.
I love that. And so maybe for others that may be suffering with a challenge or a problem, whether it's an illness or something, one of the things that I say and I work with is really what's being called forward of my true self in the face of this challenge, so that we can shift our perspective from, oh, this is happening again, this is happening, and really go, what part of me is wanting to be called forward here? And one of the statements I say is a problem is simply an invitation for us to be who we really are, and it's a good idea to RSVP. So can you speak to like how that's true, that in every problem is the answer? Because that's what you found with your cancer.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess what I found was that, I mean, as you say, in every problem is the answer. So every challenge, every single challenge, whether it's a work, financial challenge, relationship challenge, in every challenge, there is, I say there's a gift, there's an absolute gift. And when we are in the challenge, it doesn't feel like a gift at the time.
Right.
but it actually shapes us. It shapes us. It gives us, it adds a dimension to our personality. And I'll give you another example, actually, of another challenge that was a gift. When I was writing, before my book came out, and I was sharing my story freely on the internet, I got challenged very, very badly by some skeptics. And in fact, so much so that they really messed with my mind quite a bit, because they stalked me and they were like writing all kinds of things about my story. And I was responding them at first. I was responding them quite intensely, and because I was quite upset by what they were saying. And they were asking me all kinds of questions about the medical side of things, about what actually happened. And so I was responding and responding to all their questions until it came to a point where I thought, why am I doing this? Why am I
Hmm.
entertaining them? And I stopped. I just completely stopped posting, stopped writing, stopped talking about it.
Mm.
What happened, though, is that everything I had written, even up to that point, had gone viral. And what I didn't realize, what was happening in the background, was that the parts I had written to the skeptics were actually really deep, because I had to go deep to talk to explain to them. And those were the parts that attracted people like my publishers, like Wayne Dyer. And
Yes.
those were the parts that actually, I would say, pretty much got me the book deal that fell into my lap. And those were the parts that it would never have occurred to me on my own to write them had I not been attacked by the skeptics. So even that turned out to be a gift.
I love that, and that kind of leads us to the idea of allowing. And you speak, this is something you say. I think the last line of your book, or almost. If there's something I desire, the idea isn't to go out and get it.
Yeah.
It's it's to but to expand my own consciousness to allow universal energy to bring it into my reality here. So is
Yeah.
that what you're speaking of?
Yeah. And the way to expand your consciousness, the easiest way, is just to be who you are. It really is. That's all you have to do. That is really all that any of us have to do, is just shine our own light brightly, be who you are. And the more you allow yourself to just be who you are, the more you will allow what is truly yours to come to you.
I love that. Wonder if people can get that. I guess since we are part of Source ourselves, if we just be who we are, then we are connecting to all
Yes.
that, the infinite possibilities.
Or let
Of
me let me elaborate on that, because
ways.
what I would say is that, like, what we are taught is to go and chase and pursue our goals and go
Right.
after them and compete. But what we don't realize is that learning that, and being conditioned to pursue, to chase, to compete, what it actually does is it's sending yourself the message that I'm not worthy or deserving, um, and I have to go and see what everybody else is doing and go one better. So basically, we're going outward. We're going outward, and we have to see what the competition is doing, and then we have to go one better and chase it. And we're constantly comparing with everybody else. And so what we're doing is we're constantly sending ourselves the message, the message that I'm not worthy or deserving to get it as I am. I have to go after it.
Yes. So yeah. So again, the message is just to connect to who we really are, and
Yeah.
then things will start flowing as you've experienced now, right? The difference is that your life becomes you experience a lot of synchronicity. It just things happen. Like this interview has just happened. I didn't have to
Yeah.
pursue it.
Yeah.
We just be who we are, and then it becomes a lot more fun, isn't
A lot more fun. The
it?
more you try to please other people, the more you find that more people are not pleased by you. The more you relax and just think, I am who I am, take me as I am, you'll actually find more people are attracted to you.
Mm.
And
And
so it's the
also,
same sort of thing.
Yes, it's, again, another paradox. And what comes to me when I do that is, isn't it a feeling of freeing? Isn't it a freeing feeling and an empowering feeling?
Very. It's very freeing. It's very empowering. And it's really freeing to know that you don't have to be something you're not. You don't have to go chase, pursue, compete. If people learned from a very, very young age that they didn't need to compete, that all they have to do is to identify their own strengths and that their own uniqueness is what's important and it's what they have to contribute in the world, we would have a very different world. We would have a world of people who would be more willing to collaborate with each other than a world of people who are all beating each other up, competing because they all believe that we all have to get ahead of everyone else.
Beautiful. One other thought, and I know we can be wrapping up soon because I know you're getting ready for a big trip to the U.S.
Yeah, that's right.
And we'll talk about that in just 1 minute. But I wanted to get this thought in here is um, as they're exploring solutions for cancer, one of them, and I'm not sure what the name is, but they're taking out the cell and reprogramming it to act in the way that it was originally intended.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're doing all this artificial way to reprogram the cancer cell to be a healthy cell, a normal cell. And what the thought that came to me is, well, what better place to reprogram the cell than in the original manufacture? And that if we are living, as you put it, living as truly as who we are, and are back to the concept that our body reflects our state of being, and if
Mm-hmm.
we healthy, happy state, wouldn't the cell theoretically have to become healthy again? That I
Yes.
guess. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, sure. I think it's great, like what science is doing, and if they're able to actually replace the cells, like basically it's like a factory fresh condition. I think
Right.
that's fantastic. But at the same time, I think what is being neglected is why did the cells turn in the first place?
Right.
So unless the person then also has a different outlook on life, I think that also has to be taken into consideration. And this is one of the things I feel is that it doesn't matter what system of medicine you follow, whether you go for conventional therapies, whether you go for naturopathic, whether you go for a raw food diet, and so on. I know there are many fantastic therapies like raw food diet, vegan, and so on, and people who do naturopathic therapies for cancer. There are many fantastic ones that work. But what I want to say is that what is really being neglected by many people on many different levels is that I know for me, it was my emotions that caused my cancer. And I still don't see enough studies being done in that area. I believe that if I didn't have the near death experience, if I didn't have that experience of realizing and understanding what it was, which was the lack of self love for myself, the lack of respect for myself, if I didn't have that, if that switch didn't get flicked, and even if my cancer was cured or went into remission by conventional methods, I feel that the trigger for it to come back would have still been there.
Exactly. Beautiful. I think that will help people understand, again, getting to the root cause as opposed to just treating
Yes.
uh, the
And
symptoms.
and at the same time, I want to tell people I'm not asking you to stop your treatments. By all means, continue with whatever treatment you're having, whether it's natural, conventional, whatever. And I think, okay, science is making some great strides if they're trying to actually replace the cells. But there still is a huge emotional problem in this world. Like we have all become such a fearful species. And I believe that that is at the root cause of cancer for many, many people. If not everybody, I'm not going to make a blanket statement, but
Yeah.
certainly for a lot of people, yes.
And I love that. And just to wrap that idea about if someone's suffering, to trust, because that was one thing that you wrote about that was frustrating. There's so many different things to do. Where do you turn? You read this thing here, you read that over there. And really it's about trusting what feels right, uh,
Yes.
where to go. And so maybe you can speak to that. It's trusting, because if there's 10 choices, I mean, it will lead to confusion. And so can you speak how that is really what's of most importance?
Yeah, because it doesn't matter what treatment you choose, but the more that you live in from this place of constantly measuring, comparing, chasing, pursuing, what I used to do, because I was living from that state, the more I researched therapies that were available out there for cancer, the more confused I got. But now, because there's just so many things available and each thing contradicts the other, and no matter
Yeah.
which one I followed, I was in fear because I was going against all the other ones. And I thought, oh, if I follow this one, maybe this will work. And then I think, no, but this goes against that one. So maybe I'm actually feeding the cancer cells. But what I found is that as soon as you learn or realize what an incredible
Mm,
essence you have, how incredible and magnificent you are, and how you are connected to everything and every piece of information that is out there. When you realize that, when you can have that level of unconditional love and acceptance for yourself, what'll happen is that you will attract the right, whether it's the right guru, the right therapy, the right
right.
doctor, and you will go by your feeling. This will feel right, and you'll know this is the one I need to do. And you will have the confidence and the self love and the self confidence to know that this is the one that's right for me.
Beautiful. I think that will really help others, because there's so much confusion of just
Yes.
trusting what feels right. They'll be led to uh,
Yes.
where they need to go. It's back to that allowing. And so, speaking of allowing, I was just thinking of ways that I stay, present and stuff. I have the allow tattoo. You can't really see. I guess the blinds are
Yeah. Oh, I can see it. That looks
and
good.
I've got your message on my other arm, which is remember your magnificence.
Yay.
And so, thank you for joining the Giving Back program with Conscious Inc. I have this line of temporary tattoos that help people with whatever they're working on. And you're now on the website,
Great.
and we've you've chosen the charity. Can you tell me a little bit about that and your friend, and
Yes.
100% of the profits of anyone that gets their remember your
Remember your magnificence tattoos.
tattoo will go to that charity.
Yay. Yes, I've chosen to support the Somali Mum charity. And I was inspired actually by my friend who she lives here. She's actually a friend and a neighbor. And she bikes around the world. She goes to Cambodia and she bikes hundreds of kilometers to raise money for this charity. And this charity is for the it's for the young children, the young girls in Cambodia who get sold for sex slavery, and some of them as young as 2 years old. And it's really it just breaks my heart. This particular charity is because girls as young as 2 get raped and then they get stitched back up so that they can still be sold as virgins. So it's so please do support this charity. Buy the remember your magnificence tattoos and support the charity. Thank you.
Thank you
And
so much.
100% of the money goes to the charity. So yeah, you don't take any, I don't take any. So it's fantastic. Thank you.
That's right. That's at
Yeah.
consciousinc.com. Thank you for supporting that. And in closing, what are you most excited about right now yourself?
Oh, everything that's going on. I mean, I'm just excited about life. One of my favorite things that I enjoy most, I've realized, is I love public speaking, and it's incredible. I used to have a fear of public speaking, and now I just love it. Hay House, they invite me to their conferences, and stick me up on stage and I share my story, and I just love it. And I get so excited before every trip. And I'm just about to leave for the US now to speak in San Jose, and I am so excited.
I love that. And again, another example how it just unfolds in front of you, and now you have this amazing, fun life, and you're a beautiful speaker. Anyone who has the opportunity, please go see Anita. And so that leads to, where can people find out about where you'll be speaking? They can go to anitamoorjani.com.
That's right.
Um,
And also my Facebook page, both. So my Facebook page is also called Anita Moorjani, and it's got all my events and my webpage, anitamoorjani.com.
Thank you, everyone. Again, here's the book. Sorry about the light coming through my blinds. Uh, it is a life-changing book, and thank you so much for being who you are. It's really, this message is world-changing. I mean, it's the message that we all need to hear. So thank you for bringing it to me and others in the world. And thank you so much for doing this interview. And again, people
Thank
can
you.
find out about you at anitamoorjani.com.
Thank you, Frank. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.